Uncertainty is everywhere, in our careers, relationships, and even in the choices we make every day. It's that unsettling feeling that keeps us awake at night, wondering if we're on the right path or if the future holds more struggle than success. But what if I told you that uncertainty isn't something to fear? What if it's actually an opportunity waiting to be seized? Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic thinkers, once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the challenges we face, the very uncertainties that feel like obstacles, are the stepping stones to our growth and victory. That's where Stoicism comes in. This ancient philosophy isn't just about enduring hardship, it's about transforming it into strength. And today, we're diving into 36 timeless Stoic moves designed to help you dominate uncertainty and achieve victory in every area of your life. These aren't just lofty ideas, they're practical, actionable strategies rooted in centuries of wisdom. From reframing your mindset to taking bold, deliberate action, these principles will show you how to turn what feels like chaos into clarity and how to emerge stronger on the other side. So, if you're ready to stop seeing uncertainty as a threat and start seeing it as your greatest ally, you're in the right place. Let's explore how Stoicism can help you not just survive the unknown, but thrive in it. This isn't just about coping, it's about conquering. Let's begin. What can you truly control in life? It's a question that might seem simple, but the answer has the power to transform how you approach everything, from your daily decisions to your biggest challenges. Stoicism offers a clear framework for navigating this question, and it all starts with the dichotomy of control. This principle, central to Stoic philosophy, teaches us to distinguish between what is within our power and what lies beyond it. As Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it, "Some things are within our control while others are not." Within our control are our opinions, our desires, our aversions, in short, whatever is of our own doing. Beyond our control are our body, our property, our reputation, and our position in life. Think about it. You can't control the weather, the traffic on your way to work, or how other people behave. But you can control how you respond to these things. Your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude, these are yours to command. This distinction is more than just philosophical musing. It's a practical tool for reducing stress and increasing resilience. For example, imagine you're dealing with a difficult project at work. You can't control the deadlines, the demands of your boss, or even the occasional technical glitch. But you can control how you prepare, how you communicate with your team, and how you manage your own emotions when things feel overwhelming. Here's the beauty of this principle. When you focus your energy on what you can control, you reclaim your power. You stop wasting time and emotional energy on things that are outside your influence, and instead, you channel that energy into actions that move you forward. So, take a moment to reflect. What are 3 things in your life right now that you can control? And what are 3 things that you can't? Just by making this distinction, you're already taking the first step toward mastering uncertainty and building a life of intention and purpose. This isn't about ignoring the things you can't control. It's about recognizing where your true power lies. When you shift your focus to what's within your grasp, you'll find that even the most chaotic situations become easier to navigate. And that's the essence of Stoic wisdom. It doesn't just help you survive life's challenges, it empowers you to rise above them. What if every obstacle was a gift? What if the very things you've been resisting, the setbacks, the disappointments, the unexpected twists, were actually the keys to your growth? This is the essence of Amor Fati, a Latin phrase that means love of fate. It's a Stoic principle that teaches us not just to accept what happens to us, but to embrace it fully, as if we had chosen it ourselves. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply inspired by Stoic thought, put it this way: "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it." At its core, Amor Fati is about shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing life's challenges as obstacles to overcome, you start to see them as opportunities to grow. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, lived this principle daily. Faced with political turmoil, betrayal, and even the loss of loved ones, he didn't just endure these hardships, he used them as fuel to become wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. In his private writings, which later became the book Meditations, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." For Marcus, every difficulty was a teacher, every setback a lesson. So how can you apply this mindset in your own life? Start by reflecting on a recent challenge you faced. Maybe it was a project that didn't go as planned, a relationship that ended, or a goal that felt out of reach. Now ask yourself, what did this experience teach me? How did it shape me? How can I use it to move forward? When you begin to see challenges through this lens, you stop fighting against them and start growing through them. Take, for example, a historical moment in Marcus Aurelius's life. During his reign, he faced a devastating plague that swept through the Roman Empire. Instead of despairing, he saw it as an opportunity to lead with courage and compassion. He personally funded relief efforts, visited the sick, and worked tirelessly to stabilize his empire. Through his actions, he demonstrated that even the darkest moments can be transformed into opportunities for greatness. Amor Fati isn't about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring the pain of difficult experiences. It's about finding meaning in them. It's about understanding that every event, no matter how challenging, has a role in shaping who you are and who you're becoming. So, the next time you face a setback, ask yourself, how can I love this moment? How can I turn this obstacle into an opportunity? When you start to answer these questions, you'll find that life's uncertainties no longer feel like threats. They feel like invitations to grow. This Stoic principle is a reminder that life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And when you embrace that mindset, you'll discover a newfound sense of resilience, purpose, and even joy. Amor Fati isn't just a philosophy, it's a way of living that can transform how you see the world and your place in it. How would you live if today were your last day? It's a question that might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's one of the most powerful tools Stoicism offers for cutting through the noise of daily life and focusing on what truly matters. This is the essence of Memento Mori, a Latin phrase that translates to remember death. Far from being morbid, this Stoic practice is about embracing the fleeting nature of life to live with greater intention and purpose. As Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested." At its core, Memento Mori is a reminder that our time is limited and every moment is precious. It's not about fearing death, but about using the awareness of it as a catalyst to live fully. Think about it. When you know your time is finite, you stop putting off the things that matter. You stop getting caught up in trivial arguments, endless scrolling, or the pursuit of things that don't truly align with your values. Instead, you start saying yes to what brings you joy, no to what drains you, and you make space for the people and pursuits that enrich your life. This principle has profound implications for how we approach modern challenges. Take procrastination, for example. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, "I'll do it tomorrow," but Memento Mori reminds us that tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Every day we delay is a day we can't get back. Or consider overworking. How often do we sacrifice our health, relationships, or passions for the sake of climbing the ladder, only to realize too late that we've missed out on what truly makes life meaningful? So, how can you start applying this wisdom in your own life? Begin by asking yourself, if today were my last day, what would I do differently? What would I stop doing? What would I prioritize? These questions aren't meant to overwhelm you, they're meant to clarify. For instance, maybe you'd spend more time with loved ones, pursue a long-held dream, or simply take a moment to appreciate the beauty of the present. The goal isn't to live in fear of the future, but to live with the urgency of someone who knows the value of time. Imagine this scenario. You wake up each morning and take a moment to reflect on the fact that today could be your last. How would that change your interactions, your choices, your priorities? This practice doesn't have to be dramatic or time-consuming. It can be as simple as pausing to appreciate a sunrise, expressing gratitude to someone you care about, or finally taking that first step toward a goal you've been putting off. Memento Mori isn't about living in a constant state of pressure. It's about living with a sense of purpose. It's a gentle nudge to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating meaningful moments now. So, as you go about your day, carry this question with you. What would you do differently if you truly understood the value of your time? When you start living with that awareness, you'll find that life becomes richer, more intentional, and deeply fulfilling. This Stoic principle isn't just a philosophy, it's a call to action. It challenges us to stop drifting through life and start steering it with purpose. And when you do, you'll discover that remembering death isn't about endings, it's about making the most of every single moment you have. Imagine the worst-case scenario. How would you handle it? It's a question that might make you uncomfortable, but it's at the heart of a powerful Stoic practice called Premeditatio Malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This isn't about dwelling on negativity or expecting the worst to happen. Instead, it's about mentally preparing for challenges so that when they arise, you're ready to face them with clarity and calm. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, put it this way: "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." This is a reason for ensuring that nothing ever takes us by surprise. We should project our thoughts ahead of us at every turn and have in mind every possible eventuality instead of only the usual course of events. At its core, Premeditatio Malorum is a tool for building resilience. By imagining potential setbacks or difficulties, you strip them of their power to shock or overwhelm you. Think of it like a fire drill. You don't expect a fire to break out, but rehearsing what you do in that situation ensures you're prepared if it ever happens. In the same way, mentally rehearsing challenges helps you respond with intention rather than panic. Let's take a practical example from the world of business. Imagine you're leading a high-stakes project, and despite your best efforts, it fails. Without preparation, this outcome could feel devastating, a blow to your confidence, your reputation, and your sense of control. But if you've practiced Premeditatio Malorum, you've already considered this possibility. You've thought about how you'd communicate with your team, how you'd analyze what went wrong, and how you'd pivot to a new plan. When the failure happens, it's not a catastrophe, it's a challenge you're equipped to handle. This Stoic practice isn't just for hypothetical scenarios. It's a mindset you can apply to everyday life. For instance, what if you lose your job? What if a relationship ends? What if a dream you've been pursuing doesn't work out? By mentally preparing for these possibilities, you're not inviting them to happen. You're simply ensuring that if they do, you won't be caught off guard. Here's a reflective exercise to try. Take a moment to think about a challenge you're currently afraid of facing. It could be something big, like a major life change, or something smaller, like a difficult conversation. Now close your eyes and imagine the worst-case scenario. What would you do? How would you respond? What resources or strengths could you draw on? By rehearsing this scenario in your mind, you're not only reducing fear, you're building confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Premeditatio Malorum isn't about pessimism, it's about empowerment. It's a reminder that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we prepare for it. And when you approach life with this mindset, you'll find that even the most daunting challenges become opportunities to demonstrate your strength and resilience. This Stoic principle teaches us to face uncertainty not with dread but with readiness. It's a way of reclaiming your power, one mental rehearsal at a time. So, the next time you feel anxious about the future, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen, and how would I rise to meet it? When you start answering that question, you'll discover a newfound sense of clarity and confidence that will carry you through even the toughest moments. Gratitude is the antidote to dissatisfaction. It's a simple yet profound truth that the Stoics understood deeply. In a world where it's easy to focus on what we lack, whether it's money, success, or recognition, gratitude shifts our perspective to what we already have. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most revered figures, once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This isn't just poetic wisdom, it's a practical reminder to anchor ourselves in the present and appreciate the gifts that are often overlooked. The Stoics practiced gratitude not as a fleeting emotion, but as a disciplined habit. They believed that by focusing on what we have rather than what we don't, we cultivate a sense of contentment and resilience. This isn't about ignoring life's challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that even in the midst of difficulty, there are still things to be thankful for. Imagine standing in the rain. You could focus on the discomfort of being wet, or you could notice the beauty of the raindrops, the freshness in the air, and the way the world feels renewed. Gratitude is a choice, and it's one that can transform how we experience life. One modern way to practice this Stoic principle is by keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a few moments to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand or extraordinary. It could be something as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the sound of birdsong outside your window. Over time, this small practice can rewire your brain to notice and appreciate the positive aspects of your life, even when things feel tough. Studies have shown that people who regularly practice gratitude experience greater well-being, improved relationships, and even better physical health. Here's a challenge for you. Before this day ends, take a moment to list 3 things you're grateful for. They can be big or small, personal or universal. Maybe it's the support of a loved one, the opportunity to learn something new, or simply the fact that you have a roof over your head. When you focus on these things, even for a few moments, you'll find that your perspective shifts. The problems that seemed overwhelming might feel a little more manageable, and the joys that often go unnoticed will start to shine a little brighter. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a practice, a habit, and a way of life. It's a tool that the Stoics used to find peace in the present moment, no matter what challenges they faced. And it's a tool that you can use too, starting today. So, what are you grateful for right now? Take a moment to reflect and let that gratitude guide you toward a deeper sense of fulfillment and calm. This Stoic practice reminds us that even in uncertainty, there is always something to appreciate. And when we focus on those things, we not only find peace, we also build the strength to face whatever comes next. How do you interpret the events in your life? Do you see them as setbacks or as opportunities to grow? The way you perceive what happens to you shapes not only how you feel, but also how you respond. This is where the Stoic concept of the discipline of perception comes into play. At its core, this principle teaches us that our interpretation of events is within our control, and by reframing our perspective, we can transform challenges into catalysts for growth. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, put it this way: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, the same event can be a source of despair or a stepping stone to greatness, depending on how you choose to see it. Think about criticism, for example. It's easy to take it personally, to feel attacked or discouraged. But what if you saw it as a chance to learn? What if, instead of focusing on the sting of the words, you focused on the opportunity to improve? Here's a practical way to apply this mindset. Imagine you're at work and a colleague critiques your presentation. Your first reaction might be defensiveness or frustration. But if you pause and reframe the situation, you might realize that their feedback is a gift, an opportunity to refine your skills and deliver an even stronger performance next time. The event itself hasn't changed, but your perception of it has, and that shift can make all the difference. The discipline of perception isn't about denying reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing to see events in a way that empowers you rather than diminishes you. This is a skill that requires practice, but the rewards are immense. When you master this discipline, you'll find that even the most difficult situations become easier to navigate. You'll stop seeing obstacles as roadblocks and start seeing them as detours on the path to something greater. So take a moment to reflect. What's a recent challenge or criticism you've faced? How did you perceive it at the time, and how could you reframe it in a way that serves your growth? When you start to practice this kind of mental reframing, you'll discover that your perception is one of the most powerful tools you have, and with it, you can turn even the most uncertain moments into opportunities for victory. This Stoic principle reminds us that life is less about what happens to us and more about how we choose to see it. And when you approach it with this mindset, you'll find that every challenge, every setback, and every moment of uncertainty becomes a chance to rise stronger than before. Silence is often more powerful than words. In a world that values noise, constant chatter, endless notifications, and the pressure to always have something to say, silence can feel like a radical act. Yet for the Stoics, it was a cornerstone of wisdom and self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, once wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." These words remind us that silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's a space for reflection, for clarity, and for choosing how we respond to the world around us. The Stoics saw silence as a tool for self-control. When we're silent, we create a buffer between stimulus and response, a moment to pause, reflect, and act with intention rather than react impulsively. Think about the last time you were in an argument. How much of what you said was truly necessary? How much was just noise fueled by emotion rather than reason? Silence in these moments can be a shield. It allows us to step back, to observe, and to decide whether our words will add value or simply escalate tension. This principle isn't just about avoiding unnecessary conflict. It's about cultivating a deeper understanding of ourselves and others. When we listen more than we speak, we open ourselves to new perspectives. We learn to see beyond the surface and to connect with what's truly being communicated. As Marcus Aurelius put it, "To what shall I compare the human heart? A bowl of pure water. If you drop a stone into it, it will ripple, but if you let it settle, the water becomes clear again." Silence, in this sense, is that act of letting the water settle, of finding clarity amidst the chaos. In today's world, where communication is often fast-paced and reactive, the power of silence is more relevant than ever. Consider the way we engage online. How often do we pause before hitting send on a heated comment or a hasty reply? Silence gives us the chance to reconsider, to ask ourselves, is this necessary? Is this kind? Is this true? By practicing restraint in our words, we not only avoid unnecessary conflict, but also build a reputation for thoughtfulness and integrity. Here's a challenge for you. Try a day of intentional silence. It doesn't have to mean complete muteness, just a conscious effort to listen more than you speak. Pay attention to how often the urge to respond arises, and notice how it feels to hold back. What do you learn about yourself, about others? You might find that silence reveals insights you'd otherwise miss, and that in quiet moments the most profound truths often emerge. Silence isn't passive, it's a form of strength. It's a reminder that we don't always need to fill the air with words to make an impact. Sometimes the most powerful statement we can make is to simply listen, to reflect, and to choose our words with care. When we embrace this practice, we not only gain clarity and control, we also create space for deeper connection and understanding. This Stoic principle invites us to see silence not as emptiness, but as a reservoir of power. It's a tool for navigating life's uncertainties with grace, for finding clarity in the noise, and for building relationships rooted in respect and understanding. So the next time you're tempted to speak, ask yourself, what would silence teach me in this moment? The answer might just change how you see the world and your place in it. What does it mean to be truly resilient? Is it about never faltering, never feeling pain, or never facing setbacks? Not at all. True resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, it's about enduring it with strength, clarity, and purpose. The Stoics understood this deeply, and they built their philosophy around the idea that resilience is a skill, not a trait. It's something we cultivate through mental toughness, emotional control, and an unwavering commitment to our values. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it beautifully: difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. In other words, challenges aren't just obstacles to overcome, they're opportunities to grow stronger. At its core, Stoic resilience is about mastering your inner world. It's about recognizing that while you can't control what happens to you, you can control how you respond. This isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging your feelings without letting them dictate your actions. Think of it like a storm. You can't stop the rain or the wind, but you can choose how to weather it. Will you let it overwhelm you, or will you stand firm, knowing the storm will pass? One of the most powerful examples of Stoic resilience comes from Cato the Younger, a Roman statesman and Stoic philosopher. Cato lived during a time of political upheaval, and he faced constant opposition, betrayal, and even threats to his life. Yet he never wavered from his principles. When Julius Caesar marched on Rome, Cato chose to fight for the Republic, even when it seemed like a lost cause. And when defeat became inevitable, he chose to take his own life rather than live under tyranny. While this may seem extreme to modern sensibilities, Cato's unwavering commitment to his values is a testament to the kind of resilience the Stoics admired, a resilience rooted in integrity and self-mastery. So, how can you build this kind of inner strength in your own life? Start by identifying one area where you feel vulnerable or uncertain. Maybe it's a relationship, a career challenge, or even a personal habit you're struggling to change. Now ask yourself, how can I approach this situation with more resilience? What values or principles can guide me through it? By focusing on what you can control, your mindset, your actions, your attitude, you'll find that even the toughest challenges become more manageable. Here's a practical exercise to try. The next time you face a setback, pause and ask yourself 3 questions. First, what can I learn from this? Second, how can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? And third, what small step can I take right now to move forward? By breaking the situation down in this way, you'll not only build resilience, you'll also gain a sense of clarity and control that can carry you through even the most uncertain times. Resilience isn't about being unbreakable, it's about bending without breaking. It's about finding strength in the face of adversity and using that strength to grow, to adapt, and to thrive. So, as you reflect on your own life, consider this. Where can you cultivate more resilience? What's one challenge you're facing right now that could become an opportunity to grow stronger? When you approach life with this mindset, you'll discover that resilience isn't just a quality, it's a way of living that empowers you to face anything with courage and grace. Detachment is not indifference, it's freedom. At first glance, this idea might seem counterintuitive. How can letting go of something bring us closer to what we truly want? But the Stoics understood that detachment isn't about not caring. It's about freeing ourselves from the emotional grip of things we can't control. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most profound teachers, put it this way: wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. In other words, true abundance comes from mastering our desires, not from accumulating more things. The Stoic practice of detachment is rooted in the understanding that external outcomes, whether it's wealth, status, or the approval of others, are fleeting and ultimately beyond our control. When we attach our happiness to these things, we give them power over us. We become slaves to circumstances, constantly chasing validation or fearing loss. But when we detach, we reclaim our inner freedom. We learn to find contentment not in what we have, but in who we are. Consider the modern world of consumerism and social media. How often do we measure our worth by the number of likes on a post, the size of our paycheck, or the newest gadget we own? These external markers of success can feel satisfying in the moment, but they're fragile. A single negative comment, a missed promotion, or a trend that fades can leave us feeling empty. Detachment in this context means recognizing that these things don't define us. It's about finding value in our character, our relationships, and our ability to grow, rather than in the temporary highs of external validation. Here's a practical way to apply this Stoic principle. Think about something you're emotionally attached to, a possession, a goal, or even a relationship. Now ask yourself, what would happen if I lost this? How would I feel, and how could I find peace even in that loss? This isn't about preparing for the worst. It's about understanding that your worth isn't tied to any one thing. When you detach emotionally, you gain the ability to appreciate what you have without fearing its loss. Let's take a moment to reflect. What's one thing in your life that you feel overly attached to? It could be a material possession, a specific outcome, or even a role or identity you've taken on. Now, imagine what it would feel like to let go of that attachment, not to stop caring, but to stop letting it control your emotions. How would that change your perspective? How would it free you to live more fully in the present moment? Detachment is a practice, not a one-time decision. It's about training yourself to find stability within, rather than seeking it from the outside world. And when you do, you'll discover a profound sense of peace and freedom that no external circumstance can take away. This Stoic principle reminds us that true power lies not in what we possess, but in our ability to let go. And in that letting go, we find the space to truly live. What if everything you have could disappear tomorrow? It's a sobering question, but one that lies at the heart of Stoic wisdom. The Stoics believed that understanding and embracing the impermanent nature of life was key to reducing attachment and fear. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, put it succinctly: everything is ephemeral, both that which remembers and that which is remembered. In other words, nothing lasts forever, not our possessions, our relationships, or even our own lives. And while that might sound unsettling, the Stoics saw this truth as a source of freedom, not despair. At its core, embracing impermanence is about shifting our relationship with the world around us. When we accept that everything is transient, we stop clinging so tightly to what we have. We begin to see our possessions, our achievements, and even our relationships not as permanent fixtures, but as gifts to be appreciated in the moment. This mindset doesn't mean we stop caring or striving. It means we stop letting our happiness depend on things that are ultimately beyond our control. Think about a modern scenario: losing a job. For many, this can feel like a devastating blow, a loss of identity, security, and purpose. But what if, instead of seeing it as a catastrophe, you saw it as an opportunity to grow? What if you approached it with the Stoic understanding that nothing is permanent and that every ending is also a beginning? This shift in perspective doesn't erase the difficulty of the situation, but it does give you the clarity and courage to move forward. Here's an exercise to try. Take a moment to reflect on something you value deeply, a possession, a relationship, or even a role you play in life. Now imagine it's gone. How would you feel? How would you rebuild? What new opportunities might arise from that loss? When you sit with these questions, you'll start to see that impermanence isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. It's a reminder to live fully in the present, to appreciate what you have while you have it, and to approach life with a sense of openness and adaptability. The Stoics teach us that impermanence isn't a flaw in the universe, it's a feature. It's what makes life dynamic, unpredictable, and ultimately meaningful. When we stop resisting the natural ebb and flow of existence, we find a deeper sense of peace and resilience. So, the next time you feel yourself clinging too tightly to something, ask yourself, what would it mean to let go, not of the thing itself, but of the fear of losing it? When you start to answer that question, you'll discover a newfound freedom to live boldly, love deeply, and embrace every moment as it comes. This Stoic principle invites us to see impermanence not as a threat, but as a teacher. It challenges us to live with intention, to appreciate the present, and to find strength in the knowledge that change is the only constant. And when we do, we unlock a life of greater clarity, courage, and joy. Temperance is the key to lasting satisfaction. It's the art of knowing when enough is enough, and it's a principle the Stoics held in high regard. While modern life often celebrates excess, whether it's in work, consumption, or even entertainment, Stoicism teaches us that true fulfillment comes from balance and self-control. Seneca, one of the most eloquent voices of Stoic philosophy, warned us about the dangers of overindulgence when he said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In other words, it's not about depriving yourself, it's about freeing yourself from the endless chase for more. The Stoics believed that temperance wasn't just about avoiding physical excess. It was about cultivating an inner discipline that allowed them to live in harmony with their values. Imagine a life where you're not constantly chasing the next high, the next purchase, or the next achievement. Instead, you find contentment in what you already have, not because it's perfect, but because you've learned to appreciate its sufficiency. This isn't about denying yourself pleasure. It's about choosing pleasures that align with your long-term well-being rather than fleeting gratification. Let's take a modern example: overeating. It's easy to indulge in a large meal or a sugary treat, especially when stress or boredom strikes. In the moment, it feels satisfying, but later we often regret it. The Stoic approach would be to ask ourselves, is this indulgence serving me, or is it undermining my health and goals? By practicing temperance, we can enjoy food without letting it control us. The same principle applies to overspending. That impulse buy might feel exciting at first, but when the credit card bill arrives, the excitement fades. Temperance helps us pause and ask, do I really need this, or am I just chasing a temporary high? Here's a reflective exercise to try. Identify one area in your life where you've noticed a tendency toward excess. Maybe it's scrolling through social media for hours, spending too much time at work, or indulging in habits that don't align with your values. Now, ask yourself, how can I practice greater moderation in this area? What would a balanced approach look like? By making small, intentional changes, you'll start to reclaim control over your choices and find greater satisfaction in the process. Temperance isn't about restriction, it's about empowerment. It's the ability to say no to what harms you and yes to what truly nourishes you. And when you cultivate this virtue, you'll discover that lasting satisfaction doesn't come from having more, it comes from needing less. So take a moment to reflect. What's one area of your life where you could use a little more temperance? When you start to practice moderation, you'll find that the rewards go far beyond the surface. They touch every aspect of your life, bringing clarity, peace, and a deeper sense of fulfillment. This Stoic principle reminds us that true freedom isn't found in indulgence, but in the ability to choose wisely. And when you do, you'll find that temperance isn't just a virtue, it's a path to a richer, more meaningful life. How often do you truly reflect on your actions? It's a simple question, but one that can lead to profound change. The Stoics understood the power of self-reflection, and they made it a cornerstone of their daily practice. For them, reflection wasn't just a way to review the day. It was a tool for continuous growth, a way to align their actions with their values and to learn from both their successes and their mistakes. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, put it this way: if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, self-reflection requires humility. It's about being honest with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, so you can become the best version of yourself. The Stoics practiced self-reflection through structured routines. One of the most famous examples comes from Seneca, who would end each day by reviewing his actions. He'd ask himself questions like, what did I do well today? Where did I fall short? How can I do better tomorrow? This wasn't about self-criticism, it was about self-awareness. By taking the time to reflect, Seneca ensured that each day brought him closer to living in alignment with his principles. In today's fast-paced world, the idea of pausing to reflect might feel like a luxury, but the truth is, it's more important than ever. Think about how often we move from one task to the next, barely stopping to catch our breath, let alone to think about how we're spending our time. Without reflection, it's easy to drift, to lose sight of what truly matters and to let habits and distractions take the wheel. Here's a practical way to incorporate Stoic self-reflection into your life. Try journaling. Each night, take 5 minutes to write down 3 questions. What went well today? What could have gone better? What's one thing I can improve tomorrow? This simple practice not only helps you track your progress, but also trains your mind to look for opportunities to grow. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns, habits you want to keep, behaviors you want to change, and values you want to live by. Let's take it a step further. Imagine you've had a day where things didn't go as planned. Maybe you lost your temper, missed a deadline, or said something you regret. Instead of brushing it off or beating yourself up, use self-reflection as a tool for learning. Ask yourself, what triggered my reaction? What could I have done differently? How can I handle a similar situation better next time? By approaching mistakes with curiosity rather than judgment, you transform them into stepping stones for growth. Self-reflection isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's a way to take ownership of your life, to learn from your experiences, and to move forward with intention. So, as you go to bed tonight, take a moment to reflect on your day. What did you learn? How did you grow? And what's one small step you can take tomorrow to live more in alignment with your values? This Stoic practice reminds us that the most important conversations we have are the ones we have with ourselves. And when we make self-reflection a habit, we create a life that's not just lived but truly understood. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's action despite fear. This bold truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics didn't see courage as a rare trait reserved for heroes or warriors. They saw it as a daily practice, a way of showing up even when uncertainty looms large. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, put it this way: sometimes even to live is an act of courage. In other words, courage isn't just about grand gestures or dramatic moments. It's about the quiet, consistent choice to keep moving forward, even when the path is unclear. For the Stoics, courage was essential because life itself is filled with uncertainty. Whether it's a career change, a difficult conversation, or a personal loss, we all face moments that test our resolve. Courage in this context isn't about eliminating fear, it's about acknowledging it and choosing to act anyway. Think of it like stepping onto a stage to speak in front of a crowd. The fear of judgment or failure might be intense, but courage is what allows you to take that first step, to open your mouth and to share your voice with the world. History is filled with examples of this kind of bravery. Take the story of Cato the Younger, a Roman statesman and Stoic who stood unwaveringly against Julius Caesar's rise to power. Cato knew the risks he faced: exile, imprisonment, and even death, but he chose to fight for his principles anyway. His courage wasn't about winning, it was about standing firm in the face of overwhelming odds. And while most of us won't face battles on that scale, we can draw inspiration from his example. In modern life, courage might look different, but it's no less important. Maybe it's the courage to start a new business, to leave a toxic relationship, or to admit when you've made a mistake. These moments don't come with flashing lights or applause, but they require just as much bravery. The Stoics remind us that courage isn't about being fearless, it's about being brave enough to take the next step, even when you're not sure where it will lead. So here's a challenge for you. What's one fear you've been avoiding? Maybe it's a conversation you need to have, a dream you've been putting off, or a habit you've been afraid to confront. Take a moment to reflect on what's holding you back, and then ask yourself, what's one small, courageous action I can take this week to move forward? It doesn't have to be dramatic or life-changing. Even the smallest act of bravery can create momentum. Courage isn't something you're born with, it's something you cultivate, one choice at a time. And when you start to practice it, you'll find that fear loses its grip. You'll discover a strength you didn't know you had, and you'll begin to see uncertainty not as a threat but as an opportunity to grow. So, what's stopping you? Take that first step. The world is waiting. What does it mean to live a virtuous life? For the Stoics, this wasn't just a philosophical question, it was the foundation of everything. They believed that true fulfillment and happiness come not from external achievements or material wealth, but from living in alignment with virtue. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most revered figures, captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, virtue isn't something to debate, it's something to embody day in and day out. The Stoics defined virtue as the highest good, the one thing that could never be taken from you. They saw it as a combination of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance qualities that guide us to live with integrity, even when no one is watching. Unlike wealth, fame, or power, which are fleeting and often beyond our control, virtue is entirely within our grasp. It's the compass that helps us navigate life's challenges with clarity and purpose. Consider a modern ethical dilemma. Imagine you're at work and you discover a colleague has taken credit for your idea. In that moment, you have a choice. Do you confront them in anger, risking conflict and tension? Or do you respond with wisdom and fairness, addressing the issue calmly and seeking a resolution that upholds your values? The Stoic approach would be to choose the latter, not because it's easy, but because it's right. Virtue, in this case, becomes your guiding light, helping you act with integrity even in the face of frustration or injustice. But living virtuously isn't just about big, dramatic moments. It's also about the small, everyday choices we make. Maybe it's choosing to be honest when a white lie would be easier, or showing kindness to someone who doesn't deserve it. These moments might seem insignificant, but they're the building blocks of a virtuous life. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, the more we choose virtue, the more it becomes a part of who we are. So, here's a question to reflect on. How can you align your actions with your values today? Think about a decision you're facing, whether it's personal, professional, or relational. What would a virtuous choice look like in that situation? And how can you take one small step toward living with greater integrity? This Stoic principle invites us to see virtue not as an abstract ideal, but as a daily practice. It's a reminder that the quality of our character is the one thing we can always control, and that, in the end, it's what truly matters. When we prioritize virtue, we don't just live better lives, we inspire others to do the same, and that's the kind of legacy worth striving for. Mindfulness is the foundation of Stoic practice. While the term mindfulness might feel modern, its essence has been central to Stoic philosophy for centuries. The Stoics believed that being fully present, aware of our thoughts, emotions, and actions was the key to living a life of clarity and purpose. As Epictetus once said, we should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control? This simple yet profound question is a call to mindfulness, urging us to focus our attention on what truly matters and let go of what doesn't. For the Stoics, mindfulness wasn't about escaping reality or seeking a state of blissful detachment. It was about engaging with the present moment fully and intentionally. They understood that life's challenges often arise from our own minds, from worrying about the future, dwelling on the past, or getting caught up in thoughts and emotions that pull us away from the here and now. By practicing mindfulness, they trained themselves to observe these mental distractions without being consumed by them, creating a space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This principle is strikingly similar to modern mindfulness practices such as meditation. Both Stoicism and mindfulness meditation teach us to observe our thoughts without judgment, to notice when our minds wander, and to gently bring our focus back to the present. The difference lies in their goals. While mindfulness meditation often emphasizes inner peace, Stoic mindfulness is about aligning our actions with our values. It's not just about being present, it's about being present with purpose. Consider a scenario many of us face: a stressful day at work. Deadlines are looming, emails are piling up, and your mind feels scattered. A Stoic approach would be to pause and ask, what's within my control right now? Maybe it's the next task on your list, or perhaps it's simply taking a moment to breathe and regroup. By bringing your attention to the present, you stop the spiral of overwhelm and regain your ability to act with intention. Here's a practical way to incorporate Stoic mindfulness into your life. Set aside 5 minutes today for mindful breathing. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and focus on the rhythm of your breath. When your mind starts to wander, and it will gently guide it back to your breath without judgment. This simple practice not only grounds you in the present, but also trains your mind to return to what matters, even in the midst of chaos. Stoic mindfulness is a reminder that the present moment is all we truly have. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, and the only place we can act, think, or feel is right here, right now. So take a moment to pause, to breathe, and to reconnect with the present. What do you notice? What's within your control? And how can you use this moment to move closer to the person you want to become? By practicing mindfulness, you're not just improving your focus, you're reclaiming your power to live with intention, clarity, and purpose. And in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming, that's a skill worth cultivating. What would your life look like if you embraced simplicity? It's a question that might feel countercultural in a world that often equates success with accumulation. More stuff, more commitments, more noise. But the Stoics saw simplicity as a pathway to freedom, a way to strip away the distractions that pull us away from what truly matters. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, put it this way: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In other words, simplicity isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. It's about freeing ourselves from the endless chase for more and finding contentment in what we already have. The Stoics believed that a simple life was a focused life. By eliminating unnecessary distractions, whether they're material possessions, social obligations, or even mental clutter, we create space for what's truly important. Think about it. How many of the things we own or the commitments we make actually add value to our lives? How many of them simply weigh us down, creating stress and pulling our attention away from our goals and values? Simplicity, in this sense, is a form of clarity. It's about cutting through the noise to focus on what nourishes our minds, our relationships, and our sense of purpose. Let's take a modern example: decluttering. In recent years, the minimalist movement has gained traction, encouraging people to let go of excess possessions and embrace a more intentional way of living. While this might seem like a trend, it's deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. When we declutter our physical spaces, we're not just creating a tidier home, we're creating room for clarity and calm. The same principle applies to our schedules. How often do we say yes to things out of obligation rather than genuine desire? Simplicity invites us to pause and ask, does this align with my values? Does it bring me joy or purpose? If not, it might be time to let it go. So, how can you start embracing simplicity in your own life? Begin by identifying one area where you feel overwhelmed or distracted. Maybe it's a cluttered closet, a packed schedule, or even a habit of overthinking. Now, ask yourself, what's one thing I can remove or simplify in this area? It could be as small as clearing out a drawer or saying no to an unnecessary commitment. The goal isn't to overhaul your life overnight. It's to take one small step toward creating more space for what truly matters. Here's a reflective prompt to carry with you. What's one thing in your life that no longer serves you? It could be a possession, a relationship, or even a mindset. By letting go of what's no longer needed, you're not losing anything, you're gaining freedom. And when you start to live with that kind of intentionality, you'll find that simplicity isn't just a lifestyle choice. It's a way of reclaiming your time, your energy, and your peace. This Stoic principle reminds us that less can truly be more. When we simplify, we create the conditions for deeper connection, greater focus, and a more meaningful life. So take a moment to reflect. What's one thing you can simplify today? The answer might just change how you see the world and your place in it. Patience is the companion of wisdom. It's a truth the Stoics held close, recognizing that some of life's greatest rewards come not from rushing, but from waiting and enduring. In a world that often glorifies speed and instant results, patience can feel like a forgotten virtue. But for the Stoics, it was a cornerstone of resilience and clarity. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "The universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it." In other words, patience isn't just about waiting, it's about shaping how we think and respond to the passage of time. The Stoics saw patience as a form of strength. It's the ability to endure challenges without losing focus, to wait for the right opportunities without giving in to frustration, and to trust the process even when the outcome is uncertain. Think of it like planting a seed. You can't rush its growth by pulling on the sprout. You have to give it time, water, and sunlight. In the same way, the Stoics believed that many of life's most meaningful achievements, whether in relationships, careers, or personal growth, require the same kind of nurturing and trust. Let's bring this into the modern world. Imagine you're working toward a big career goal, maybe a promotion, a new job, or launching your own business. The journey might feel slow, filled with setbacks and moments of doubt. It's easy to grow impatient, to compare your progress to others, or to wonder if all your effort is worth it. But the Stoic approach would be to focus on what you can control: your effort, your attitude, and your willingness to keep going. Patience in this context becomes a form of persistence. It's about trusting that your hard work will pay off, even if the timing isn't what you expected. Here's a practical way to practice this Stoic principle. Identify one area of your life where you've been struggling with impatience. Maybe it's a project at work, a personal goal, or even a relationship that's taking time to grow. Now ask yourself, how can I approach this situation with more patience? What small steps can I take to stay focused and present, even when progress feels slow? By shifting your mindset in this way, you'll find that patience isn't just about waiting, it's about finding meaning and purpose in the process. So take a moment to reflect. What's one thing in your life right now that could benefit from a little more patience? It could be as simple as waiting for a response to an email, or as complex as navigating a long-term goal. Whatever it is, try to see it not as a test of your endurance, but as an opportunity to grow stronger and wiser. Patience, after all, isn't just about enduring, it's about thriving even in the waiting. This Stoic principle reminds us that life's greatest rewards often come to those who are willing to wait, to endure, and to trust the journey. And when you embrace that mindset, you'll find that patience isn't just a virtue, it's a pathway to peace and purpose. How do you maintain calm in the face of chaos? It's a question that feels more relevant than ever in a world that often feels unpredictable and overwhelming. For the Stoics, the answer lay in the practice of equanimity, a steady, unshakable calm that allows us to face life's ups and downs with grace and resilience. Equanimity isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about cultivating an inner balance that keeps us grounded no matter what happens. The Stoics believed that equanimity was essential for living a virtuous and fulfilling life. They understood that external events, whether they're triumphs or tragedies, are outside our control. What we can control is how we respond to them. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most profound teachers, put it this way: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet powerful idea reminds us that while we can't always choose our circumstances, we can always choose our mindset. Imagine you're in the middle of a crisis, a sudden job loss, a health scare, or even a global event that disrupts daily life. The natural reaction might be panic, fear, or frustration, but equanimity allows you to step back, to assess the situation with clarity, and to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It's not about ignoring the difficulty of the moment, it's about meeting it with a sense of calm and purpose. Here's a modern example. Picture a leader guiding their team through a major organizational change. The stakes are high, emotions are running wild, and uncertainty is everywhere. A leader who practices equanimity doesn't get swept up in the chaos. Instead, they remain steady, offering clear direction and reassurance. Their calmness becomes a source of stability for everyone around them, turning a potentially chaotic situation into an opportunity for growth and collaboration. So, how can you cultivate equanimity in your own life? Start by reflecting on a recent moment when you felt overwhelmed or reactive. What triggered your emotions? How did you respond? Now, imagine how that situation might have unfolded if you had approached it with greater calm and clarity. What would have been different? This kind of reflection helps you identify patterns and build the mental resilience needed to stay steady in the future. Equanimity is a skill, not a trait. It's something we can all develop with practice. One way to start is by incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine. Take a few moments each day to pause, breathe, and center yourself. Notice your thoughts and emotions without judgment, and gently guide your focus back to the present moment. Over time, this practice will help you build the inner calm needed to face life's challenges with greater ease. This Stoic principle reminds us that true strength lies in our ability to remain balanced, no matter what life throws our way. So, the next time you find yourself in the midst of chaos, ask yourself, how can I approach this moment with equanimity? When you start to embody this mindset, you'll discover a newfound sense of peace and resilience that can carry you through even the toughest times. Humility is the foundation of true strength. At first glance, this might seem contradictory. How can humility, often associated with meekness or self-effacement, be a source of power? But the Stoics saw humility as a profound form of strength, one that keeps us grounded, open to growth, and connected to the world around us. For them, humility wasn't about diminishing oneself. It was about recognizing our place in the larger tapestry of life and staying open to the lessons it offers. The Stoics believed that arrogance and pride were barriers to wisdom. When we think we already know everything, we close ourselves off to new ideas, perspectives, and opportunities for growth. Humility, on the other hand, keeps us curious and teachable. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, warned against the dangers of arrogance when he wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity. For he is not permitted to prove himself." In other words, humility allows us to face challenges with an open mind, ready to learn and adapt rather than clinging to the illusion of perfection. Consider the modern world of leadership. A leader who approaches their role with humility is more likely to listen to their team, acknowledge their own mistakes, and foster an environment of trust and collaboration. This isn't about downplaying one's abilities. It's about recognizing that true strength comes from connection and collective effort. Think of a CEO who actively seeks feedback from employees, or a coach who credits their team for a victory rather than taking all the glory. These are examples of humility in action, small acts that have a ripple effect, building stronger relationships and more resilient organizations. But humility isn't just for leaders. It's a practice we can all incorporate into our daily lives. Imagine you're in a disagreement with a friend or colleague. Instead of insisting you're right, what if you approached the conversation with humility? What if you listened deeply, acknowledged their perspective, and stayed open to the possibility that you might have something to learn? This shift in mindset doesn't just resolve conflicts, it deepens connections and fosters mutual respect. Here's a reflective exercise to try. Think about one area of your life where you could practice greater humility. Maybe it's in your relationships, your work, or even your approach to personal goals. Now ask yourself, how can I approach this area with more openness and curiosity? What might I learn if I let go of the need to be right or to prove myself? By embracing humility, you're not losing anything, you're gaining the opportunity to grow, to connect, and to become stronger in ways you might not expect. This Stoic principle reminds us that true strength isn't about dominance or control. It's about the quiet confidence that comes from knowing we don't have all the answers, and that's okay. Humility keeps us grounded, teaches us to learn from every experience, and helps us build a life rooted in authenticity and connection. So, where can you practice a little more humility today? The answer might just open doors you never knew were there. What would happen if you fully accepted your current reality? It's a question that might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's at the heart of one of the most transformative Stoic practices, acceptance. The Stoics believed that peace doesn't come from changing the world around us, it comes from changing how we relate to it. Acceptance isn't about giving up or resigning ourselves to fate. It's about acknowledging what is, so we can move forward with clarity and purpose. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, offered profound insight into this idea when he wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." These words remind us that acceptance isn't passive, it's an active choice to engage with life as it is, rather than how we wish it to be. It's about finding strength in the present moment, even when the present moment is far from perfect. Think about a modern example receiving a difficult medical diagnosis. It's a moment that can feel devastating, filled with fear, anger, and uncertainty. But acceptance doesn't mean surrendering to the illness. It means acknowledging the reality of the situation so you can make informed decisions, seek the best care, and focus on what truly matters. Acceptance becomes the foundation for action, not the end of it. Here's a reflective exercise to try. Think about one thing in your life that you've been resisting. Maybe it's a personal setback, a relationship challenge, or even a global event that feels beyond your control. Now ask yourself, what would it mean to fully accept this reality? How would that acceptance change how I feel, how I act, and how I move forward? This Stoic principle reminds us that acceptance isn't about weakness, it's about wisdom. It's the understanding that some things are beyond our control, but our response to them is always within our power. And when we embrace that mindset, we find a sense of peace and resilience that can carry us through even the toughest moments. So take a moment to reflect. What's one thing in your life right now that you need to accept? What would it feel like to let go of resistance and meet that reality with openness and courage? When you do, you'll discover that acceptance isn't the end of the journey, it's the beginning of a new way forward. By practicing acceptance, you're not just finding peace, you're reclaiming your power to live fully, even in the face of uncertainty. And that's a skill worth cultivating. Focus is the key to achieving what truly matters. In a world filled with endless distractions, the ability to concentrate on what's essential has become a rare and invaluable skill. The Stoics understood this deeply. They saw focus not just as a tool for productivity, but as a way to live with intention and purpose. For them, focus was about more than completing tasks. It was about aligning their attention with their values, ensuring that every moment was spent in pursuit of what truly mattered. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, captured this idea perfectly when he said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that focus begins with clarity. Before we can direct our attention, we need to know what we're directing it toward. For the Stoics, this meant understanding their goals, their values, and the kind of life they wanted to lead. Only then could they cut through the noise and stay on course. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. From the constant ping of notifications to the lure of multitasking, it's easy to feel pulled in a dozen directions at once. But the Stoics would argue that this scattered approach doesn't just waste time, it erodes our sense of purpose. When we divide our attention, we dilute our energy, leaving ourselves too drained to pursue what truly matters. Think about it. How often do you start your day with a clear goal, only to find yourself hours later, having accomplished little, wondering where the time went? Here's where Stoic wisdom can help. Instead of trying to do everything at once, the Stoics practiced focused attention, dedicating themselves fully to one task at a time. They believed that by giving their undivided attention to what was in front of them, they could achieve more with less effort. This isn't just about efficiency, it's about presence. When you focus on what you're doing, you bring your full self to the moment, creating deeper engagement and greater fulfillment. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're working on an important project, but your phone keeps buzzing with messages, emails, and social media updates. Each interruption pulls you away, forcing you to refocus and costing you valuable time. A Stoic approach would be to silence those distractions, creating a space where you can fully immerse yourself in the task at hand. It's not about eliminating all interruptions, it's about choosing which ones deserve your attention and which ones can wait. So here's a challenge for you. Identify one task today that deserves your full focus. It could be a work project, a conversation with a loved one, or even a moment of quiet reflection. Whatever it is, commit to giving it your undivided attention. Notice how it feels to be fully present, to engage deeply with what you're doing. You might find that not only do you accomplish more, but you also feel more fulfilled in the process. This Stoic principle reminds us that focus isn't just about getting things done. It's about living with intention. When we direct our attention toward what truly matters, we reclaim our time, our energy, and our sense of purpose. So take a moment to reflect. What's one thing you can focus on fully today? The answer might just change how you approach not just your tasks, but your life. How does giving enrich your life? At first glance, generosity might seem like a simple act of kindness, but for the Stoics, it was much more than that. It was a pathway to deeper connection and personal fulfillment. The Stoics believed that true happiness comes not from what we accumulate, but from what we give. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, put it this way: "No one can live happily who has regard to himself alone and transforms everything into a question of his own utility." In other words, generosity isn't just about helping others. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and finding joy in contributing to something greater than ourselves. For the Stoics, generosity wasn't limited to material gifts. It included offering time, attention, and even forgiveness. They saw it as a practice that strengthened relationships, fostered community, and cultivated a sense of purpose. Imagine a world where everyone approached life with this mindset, where acts of kindness and support weren't exceptions, but the norm. Generosity, in this sense, becomes a way to create ripples of positivity that extend far beyond the immediate moment. Let's bring this into a modern context. Think about the last time you volunteered or helped someone in need. Maybe it was lending a listening ear to a friend going through a tough time, or donating to a cause you care about. In those moments, you weren't just giving something away. You were creating a connection, a sense of shared purpose that enriched both your life and theirs. Generosity, as the Stoics understood it, is a two-way street. It reminds us that we're part of a larger whole, and that our actions, no matter how small, can make a difference. Here's a practical way to incorporate this Stoic principle into your life. Identify one way you can practice generosity this week. It doesn't have to be grand or costly. Maybe it's offering your time to mentor someone, writing a heartfelt note to a loved one, or simply holding the door open for a stranger. The key is to approach these acts with intention, recognizing that even the smallest gestures can have a profound impact. Reflect on this. How does giving make you feel? Do you notice a sense of fulfillment, a deeper connection to others, or even a shift in your own perspective? Generosity, as the Stoics teach us, isn't just about what we give, it's about how giving transforms us. When we open our hearts and extend ourselves to others, we not only enrich their lives, but we also discover a deeper sense of meaning and joy in our own. This Stoic principle invites us to see generosity not as an obligation, but as an opportunity, a way to connect, to grow, and to live more fully. So, take a moment to consider, what's one act of generosity you can offer today? The answer might just change how you see the world and your place in it. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's the force that turns aspirations into reality, the steady hand that guides us through challenges and keeps us on track when distractions arise. For the Stoics, discipline wasn't just a tool, it was a way of life, a fundamental practice for achieving long-term success and living in alignment with their values. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, understood the power of discipline better than most. In his personal writings, he reflected, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. These words remind us that discipline begins within. It's about mastering our thoughts, our impulses, and our actions, even when external circumstances feel chaotic or overwhelming. For the Stoics, discipline wasn't about punishment or restriction, it was about freedom. By exercising self-control, they freed themselves from the tyranny of fleeting desires and distractions, allowing them to focus on what truly mattered. Let's bring this ancient wisdom into the modern world. Think about a habit you've been trying to build. Maybe it's exercising regularly, eating healthier, or dedicating time to a creative project. At first, it's exciting, but over time, motivation wanes and obstacles appear. This is where discipline steps in. It's not about feeling inspired every day. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. The Stoics would argue that discipline is what transforms sporadic effort into lasting change. Consider the example of maintaining a fitness routine. On days when you're tired, stressed, or busy, it's tempting to skip a workout. But discipline reminds you of your long-term goal, whether it's better health, more energy, or simply proving to yourself that you can stick to your commitments. Each small act of discipline builds momentum, creating a sense of achievement that fuels further progress. Here's a reflective prompt to carry with you. Where in your life could you strengthen your discipline? Is there a goal you've been putting off, a habit you've been neglecting, or a challenge you've been avoiding? Take a moment to identify one area where you could apply greater focus and consistency. Remember, discipline isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Even the smallest steps taken consistently can lead to extraordinary results. This Stoic principle reminds us that discipline isn't a burden, it's a gift. It's the practice of aligning our actions with our values, of choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term ease. And when we embrace it, we discover a strength that carries us not just toward our goals, but toward a life of purpose and integrity. So, where will your discipline take you today? The answer might just change everything. What would it feel like to let go of resentment, to release the weight of anger or hurt you've been carrying, and step into a space of peace and clarity? The Stoics believed that forgiveness wasn't just an act of kindness, it was a powerful tool for freeing ourselves from emotional burdens and reclaiming our inner strength. Holding on to grudges, they argued, doesn't punish the other person, it only chains us to the past, draining our energy and clouding our judgment. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is an act of liberation, a way to untangle ourselves from the grip of negative emotions and move forward with purpose. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most profound teachers, captured this idea when he said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." These words remind us that when we hold onto resentment, we give others power over our emotions. We allow their actions, often things we can't control, to dictate how we feel and how we live. Forgiveness, in this sense, isn't about excusing someone's behavior or pretending it didn't hurt. It's about choosing to release the hold that hurt has on us so we can reclaim our peace and focus on what truly matters. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you've had a falling out with a colleague, a disagreement that left you feeling disrespected or undervalued. Every time you think about it, the frustration bubbles up, distracting you from your work and souring your mood. A Stoic approach would be to pause and ask, is holding onto this anger serving me? Is it helping me grow, or is it keeping me stuck? Forgiveness, in this case, doesn't mean pretending the disagreement didn't happen. It means choosing to let go of the emotional weight so you can move forward with clarity and focus. Here's a reflective prompt to consider. Who is one person in your life you need to forgive? It could be someone who wronged you recently, or even someone from your past whose actions still linger in your mind. Now, ask yourself, what would it feel like to release this resentment? How might forgiveness change how you feel, how you act, and how you move through the world? Forgiveness isn't always easy, but it's always transformative. It's a choice to prioritize your own peace over the desire to hold on to pain. And when you make that choice, you'll find that forgiveness isn't just a gift to others, it's a gift to yourself. It's a step toward a life of greater clarity, resilience, and freedom. So, take a moment to reflect. What's one act of forgiveness you can offer today? The answer might just change how you see the world and your place in it. Adaptability is the key to thriving in uncertainty. Think about it, life rarely goes exactly as planned. Jobs change, relationships evolve, and unexpected challenges arise. The Stoics understood this deeply, and they saw adaptability not as a weakness but as a strength. Seneca, one of Stoicism's wisest voices, put it this way: "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." In other words, much of our stress comes from resisting change, from clinging to how things should be rather than embracing how they are. Adaptability, then, is about letting go of rigidity and learning to flow with life's currents, no matter where they take us. At its core, Stoic adaptability is about mental flexibility. It's the ability to shift our mindset when circumstances change, to find opportunity in disruption rather than despair. The Stoics believed that life's unpredictability isn't something to fear, it's something to lean into. Change, after all, is the only constant. By cultivating adaptability, we prepare ourselves not just to survive but to thrive, no matter what comes our way. Let's bring this into the modern world. Consider a career transition, a scenario many of us face at some point. Maybe you've been laid off, or perhaps you're feeling unfulfilled in your current role. The instinct might be to panic, to cling to the familiar, or to resist the uncertainty of what's next. But adaptability invites a different approach. It encourages you to see this moment not as a setback but as a pivot point, a chance to explore new opportunities, to learn new skills, or even to redefine what success means to you. Here's a practical way to practice this Stoic principle. Identify one area of your life where you've been resisting change. Maybe it's a shift in your routine, a new responsibility at work, or even a global event that's disrupted your plans. Now ask yourself, how can I approach this situation with greater adaptability? What's one small step I can take to embrace this change rather than fight it? Reflect on this. What's one area where you could benefit from being more adaptable? It could be as simple as trying a new approach to a problem, or as significant as reimagining your life's direction. When you start to see change not as a threat but as an opportunity, you'll discover a newfound sense of resilience and possibility. Adaptability isn't about losing yourself in the chaos, it's about finding yourself in the midst of it. It's about trusting that no matter how uncertain the path, you have the tools to navigate it. And when you embrace that mindset, you'll find that uncertainty isn't something to fear, it's something to master. What does it mean to live with integrity? It's a question that goes beyond simple honesty or doing the right thing when someone's watching. For the Stoics, integrity was the foundation of a virtuous life, a way of aligning your actions with your deepest values, even when no one else is around to see. It's about being the same person in private as you are in public, living by principles that guide you not just in easy moments, but in the toughest ones too. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, understood this deeply. He once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." These words capture the essence of Stoic integrity. It's not about following rules for the sake of appearances. It's about living in a way that earns your own respect. For the Stoics, integrity wasn't just a moral ideal, it was a practical tool for building trust both with others and with yourself. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're a manager at work and you're faced with a decision that could boost your team's short-term performance but compromise long-term ethics. Maybe it's cutting corners on safety standards or misrepresenting data to secure a deal. Integrity, in this case, means choosing the harder path, the one that aligns with your values, even if it comes with a cost. It's about recognizing that your choices don't just affect outcomes, they shape who you are. This idea isn't just for high-stakes decisions. Integrity shows up in the small, everyday moments too. Think about the times you've made a promise to yourself to eat healthier, to spend more time with loved ones, or to stick to a budget. Keeping those promises, even when it's inconvenient, is a form of integrity. It's about honoring the commitments you've made, not just to others, but to yourself. So, here's a reflective prompt to consider. How can you align your actions more closely with your values? Take a moment to think about one area of your life where you feel a disconnect, where what you do doesn't quite match what you believe. Maybe it's in your relationships, your work, or even your personal habits. What's one small step you can take today to bridge that gap? Integrity isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about showing up as the person you want to be, even when it's hard. And when you do, you'll find that living with integrity isn't just a moral choice. It's a source of strength, clarity, and deep fulfillment. So, where can you start? The answer might just change how you see yourself and your place in the world. Gratitude can transform even the darkest moments. It's a truth the Stoics held close, recognizing that in the midst of hardship, gratitude has the power to shift our perspective and uncover hidden strengths. While it might seem counterintuitive to feel thankful during adversity, the Stoics saw gratitude as a tool for resilience, a way to find light even when the world feels heavy. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most profound teachers, captured this idea beautifully when he said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging the good that still exists, even in the face of loss or struggle. By focusing on what remains rather than what's been taken away, we cultivate a mindset that's rooted in possibility rather than despair. Consider a modern example: navigating a serious illness. The diagnosis itself can feel overwhelming, bringing fear, anger, and a sense of loss. But within that experience, there are often moments of grace, the support of loved ones, the kindness of medical professionals, or even the quiet strength you discover within yourself. Gratitude doesn't erase the difficulty, but it can help you see the beauty and resilience that exist alongside it. Here's a practical way to apply this Stoic principle. Think about a challenge you're currently facing, whether it's a personal setback, a professional obstacle, or even a global crisis that's impacted your life. Now ask yourself, what's one thing I can be grateful for in this situation? Maybe it's a lesson you've learned, a relationship that's deepened, or even the simple fact that you're still standing. When you shift your focus to gratitude, you're not denying the struggle, you're finding a way to rise above it. This Stoic practice reminds us that gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. It's the decision to look for the good, even when it's hard to see. And when you make that choice, you'll find that adversity doesn't just break you. It can also reveal your strength, your resilience, and your capacity to find light in the darkest of times. So take a moment to reflect. What's one thing you're grateful for, even in the midst of a challenge? When you start to answer that question, you'll discover that gratitude isn't just a response to adversity, it's a way to transform it. And in that transformation, you'll find a deeper sense of peace, purpose, and hope. What can you gain by saying no to yourself? It's a question that might feel counterintuitive in a world that often equates happiness with indulgence. Yet, for the Stoics, self-denial wasn't about deprivation, it was about empowerment. They believed that by intentionally saying no to certain comforts or desires, we could strengthen our willpower, reduce our dependence on external things, and cultivate a deeper sense of inner freedom. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, put it this way: set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" His words remind us that self-denial isn't about punishing ourselves. It's about proving to ourselves that we are strong than our cravings and more resilient than our fears. At its core, Stoic self-denial is a practice of mental toughness. It's about training ourselves to resist the pull of instant gratification so we can focus on what truly matters. Think about it. How often do we reach for something out of habit or comfort, whether it's scrolling through social media, indulging in unhealthy food, or overspending on things we don't need? These habits might feel satisfying in the moment, but over time they can erode our discipline and pull us away from our goals. Self-denial, as the Stoics saw it, is a way to break free from these patterns and reclaim control over our choices. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you decide to do a digital detox a day or even a week without social media, emails, or other digital distractions. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, even unsettling. You might feel the urge to check your phone or fill the silence with noise, but as you sit with the discomfort, something remarkable happens. You start to notice the world around you, the sound of birds outside, the way sunlight filters through the trees, the quiet joy of being fully present. You realize that you don't need constant stimulation to feel alive or fulfilled. This is the power of self-denial. It strips away the unnecessary so we can reconnect with what truly nourishes us. Here's a practical way to apply this Stoic principle. Identify one indulgence you rely on, something you turn to out of habit or comfort rather than necessity. Maybe it's sugary snacks, binge-watching shows, or even the constant need for validation from others. Now, challenge yourself to deny that indulgence for a set period, a day, a week, or even just a few hours. Pay attention to how you feel during that time. What thoughts or emotions arise? What do you notice about your surroundings, your energy, or your mindset? This practice isn't about punishing yourself or living a life of austerity. It's about proving to yourself that you are more than your desires, that you have the strength to choose what serves you rather than what merely distracts you. When you practice self-denial, you're not just saying no to something, you're saying yes to your own growth, resilience, and freedom. So take a moment to reflect. What's one indulgence you can deny yourself this week? What might you discover about yourself, your habits, or your priorities when you do? The answer might just reveal a strength you didn't know you had and open the door to a life of greater clarity and purpose. Perspective shapes reality. It's a simple truth, but one that holds immense power. How we see the world, how we interpret events, challenges, and even the actions of others determines not only how we feel but also how we respond. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that perspective wasn't just a passive lens through which we view life. It was an active tool we could use to transform our experience. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, put it this way: "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." These words remind us that our understanding of the world is shaped by our thoughts, and by shifting those thoughts, we can change our reality. At its core, the Stoic practice of perspective is about flexibility. It's about recognizing that there's rarely just one way to see a situation. When we're stuck in a single viewpoint, especially one colored by frustration, anger, or fear, we limit our ability to respond effectively. But when we step back and consider alternative perspectives, we open ourselves to new solutions, deeper understanding, and even unexpected opportunities for growth. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're in a disagreement with a coworker. They've criticized your idea in a meeting and you feel defensive, even hurt. Your initial perspective might be that they're undermining you or trying to make you look bad. But what if you shifted your perspective? What if, instead of seeing their criticism as an attack, you saw it as an opportunity to improve your idea or even to build a stronger working relationship? By reframing the situation, you're not just diffusing tension, you're creating space for collaboration and growth. Here's a reflective exercise to try. Think about a current conflict or challenge in your life, whether it's personal, professional, or even societal. Now ask yourself, what's an alternative perspective I haven't considered? How might someone else see this situation differently? What could I gain by adopting that viewpoint, even temporarily? This Stoic principle reminds us that perspective isn't fixed, it's fluid. It's something we can choose, shape, and refine. And when we do, we discover that even the most challenging situations can become opportunities for learning, connection, and transformation. So take a moment to reflect, where in your life could a shift in perspective make a difference? The answer might just change how you see the world and your place in it. How can compassion transform your relationships? It's a question that might seem simple, but the answer holds profound implications for how we connect with others and navigate the world. The Stoics, often seen as advocates of emotional detachment, actually placed great value on compassion. They believed that understanding and alleviating the suffering of others wasn't just a moral duty, it was a pathway to deeper connection and inner peace. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, offered a powerful insight when he said, "When you see anyone weeping for grief, either that his son has gone abroad or that he has suffered in his affairs, take care not to be overcome by the apparent evil, but discriminate and be ready to say, 'What hurts this man is not the event, for another does not suffer from it, but his judgment about it.'" In other words, compassion begins with understanding that everyone's struggles are shaped by their own perspectives, and by stepping into their shoes, we can offer genuine support. Compassion for the Stoics wasn't about pity or sentimentality. It was about recognizing our shared humanity and acting in ways that reduce suffering. They saw it as a form of wisdom, a way to strengthen relationships, build trust, and create a more harmonious world. Think about a time when someone showed you compassion during a difficult moment. Maybe it was a kind word, a listening ear, or simply the presence of someone who cared. That small act likely made a big difference, not just in how you felt, but in how you saw yourself and your situation. Compassion, in this sense, is a gift that benefits both the giver and the receiver. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine a close friend is going through a tough time. Perhaps they've lost their job or are struggling with a personal loss. Your instinct might be to offer advice or try to fix the problem. But the Stoic approach would be to listen deeply, to acknowledge their pain, and to offer your presence without judgment. Compassion, in this case, isn't about solving their problems, it's about letting them know they're not alone. It's about creating a space where they feel seen, heard, and valued. Here's a reflective prompt to consider. How can you show more compassion today? Think about someone in your life who might be struggling, whether it's a family member, a coworker, or even a stranger. What's one small way you can offer your support? Maybe it's a thoughtful message, a gesture of kindness, or simply taking the time to truly listen. When you practice compassion, you're not just helping others, you're also nurturing your own capacity for empathy and connection. This Stoic principle reminds us that compassion isn't just a feeling, it's an action. It's the choice to see beyond our own struggles and extend a hand to someone in need. And when we do, we create ripples of kindness that can transform not just our relationships, but the world around us. So, take a moment to reflect, who in your life could use a little more compassion today? The answer might just change how you see the world and your place in it. Wisdom is the foundation of a meaningful life. It's not just about knowing facts or having answers. It's about understanding how to live well, how to navigate challenges, make sound decisions, and align your actions with your values. For the Stoics, wisdom wasn't an abstract ideal, it was a practical, daily pursuit. They believed that without wisdom, even the best intentions could lead us astray. As Seneca once wrote, "No man was ever wise by chance." In other words, wisdom isn't something that just happens. It's something we actively cultivate through reflection, learning, and experience. At its core, Stoic wisdom is about discernment. It's the ability to see clearly, to distinguish between what's within our control and what's not, and to act with intention rather than impulse. The Stoics saw wisdom as the guiding light that helps us navigate life's uncertainties with clarity and purpose. Think of it like a compass. It doesn't eliminate the storms or the rough terrain, but it gives us a reliable direction to follow, no matter how chaotic the journey becomes. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're faced with a difficult decision, perhaps a career change, a financial investment, or even a personal relationship. Without wisdom, you might act out of fear, pressure, or short-term thinking. But with wisdom, you pause, you consider the long-term consequences, weigh your options carefully, and make a choice that aligns with your values and goals. Wisdom, in this sense, becomes a tool for creating a life that's not just successful but meaningful. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate wisdom is through lifelong learning. This doesn't mean you need to go back to school or read every book on philosophy. It's about staying curious, asking questions, and seeking out experiences that challenge your assumptions. For the Stoics, wisdom wasn't a destination, it was a journey. Every mistake, every challenge, and every moment of reflection was an opportunity to grow wiser. Here's a reflective prompt to carry with you. What's one area of your life where you could seek greater wisdom? Maybe it's in your relationships, your career, or even your approach to personal growth. Take a moment to consider, what's one question you've been avoiding, one habit you've been repeating, or one assumption you've been holding onto? When you start to explore these questions, you'll discover that wisdom isn't just about finding answers, it's about asking the right questions and staying open to what they reveal. This Stoic principle reminds us that wisdom isn't something we're born with, it's something we build, one choice at a time. And when we make that choice, we don't just improve our lives, we create a ripple effect that can inspire and guide others. So, where will your pursuit of wisdom take you today? The answer might just change how you see the world and your place in it. What if you focused on effort rather than results? It's a question that challenges one of our most deeply ingrained habits, the need to control outcomes. The Stoics believed that this need is at the root of much of our anxiety and frustration. By detaching from results and focusing instead on the effort itself, they argued, we can find a deeper sense of peace and freedom. As Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most profound teachers, put it, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. This powerful idea reminds us that while we can't always control the outcomes of our actions, we can always control how much effort and intention we put into them. The Stoic practice of detachment from outcomes isn't about giving up or being indifferent. It's about shifting our focus from what we can't control, the final result, to what we can control, our effort, our attitude, and our commitment to the process. When we fixate on outcomes, we tie our happiness to external events, leaving ourselves vulnerable to disappointment and stress. But when we focus on the effort itself, we reclaim our power. We find satisfaction in the act of trying, regardless of the outcome. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're working on a creative project, a novel, a painting, or even a new business idea. It's natural to dream about the success it might bring, the acclaim, the recognition, the sense of accomplishment. But what happens when those dreams don't materialize? If your happiness is tied to the outcome, the disappointment can feel crushing. But if you focus on the joy of creating, on the lessons you're learning, and on the effort you're putting in, the outcome becomes secondary. You're no longer writing, painting, or building for the sake of validation. You're doing it because the act itself brings you fulfillment. This Stoic principle isn't just for creative pursuits. It applies to every area of life: relationships, careers, fitness, even parenting. Think about a time when you've poured your heart into something, only to see it fall short of your expectations. It's easy to feel defeated, to question whether the effort was worth it. But what if, instead of focusing on the outcome, you celebrated the effort itself? What if you recognized the courage it took to try, the growth you experienced along the way, and the lessons you'll carry forward? Here's a reflective question to consider. What's one goal you're currently pursuing where you can practice detachment from the outcome? Maybe it's a fitness goal, a career milestone, or even a personal project. Take a moment to shift your focus from the result to the process. What are you learning? How are you growing? What joy or meaning can you find in the effort itself? Detachment from outcomes isn't about lowering your standards or settling for less. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of expectations so you can fully engage with the present moment. When you let go of the need to control the result, you open yourself to a deeper experience of life, one filled with curiosity, resilience, and peace. This Stoic practice invites us to see effort as its own reward, to find fulfillment in the journey rather than the destination. And when you embrace that mindset, you'll discover that the real victory isn't in achieving the outcome, it's in the courage to try, to grow, and to keep moving forward no matter what happens. The present moment is all we truly have. It's the only space where life unfolds, where decisions are made, and where we can truly connect with ourselves and the world around us. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that presence, being fully engaged in the here and now, wasn't just a way to live more meaningfully. It was a way to reduce regrets and find peace in an often chaotic world. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, captured this idea beautifully when he wrote, "Do every act of your life as though it were the very last act of your life." These words remind us that the present moment is precious, not because it's fleeting, but because it's the only moment we can truly act, feel, or think. For the Stoics, presence wasn't just about mindfulness, it was about intentionality. It was about showing up fully, whether you were engaged in a conversation, working on a task, or simply observing the world around you. In today's world, presence is harder to practice than ever. We're constantly pulled in multiple directions, scrolling through social media, juggling tasks, or worrying about the future. These distractions pull us away from the present, leaving us feeling scattered and disconnected. Think about it. How often do you find yourself physically in one place but mentally somewhere else? Maybe you're at dinner with a loved one, but your mind is racing through tomorrow's to-do list. Or perhaps you're walking through a park, but instead of noticing the trees and the breeze, you're glued to your phone. These moments of disconnection might seem small, but they add up, leaving us with a sense of emptiness and regret. Here's a practical way to bring Stoic presence into your life. Choose one activity today, whether it's eating a meal, having a conversation, or even just taking a walk, and commit to being fully present. Put away your phone, quiet your inner chatter, and focus entirely on what's happening in that moment. Notice the textures, the sounds, the sensations. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back to the present without judgment. This simple practice might feel challenging at first, but over time, it can transform how you experience life. Reflect on this. What's one activity you often rush through or do on autopilot? How might it feel to approach that activity with full presence? When you start to practice this kind of intentional engagement, you'll find that even the most ordinary moments become extraordinary. Presence isn't just a way to live, it's a way to truly feel alive. This Stoic principle invites us to see the present moment not as a stepping stone to the future, but as the foundation of a meaningful life. And when you embrace that mindset, you'll discover that the power of presence isn't just about reducing regret, it's about creating a life rich with connection, clarity, and purpose. So take a moment to pause, to breathe, and to fully inhabit the here and now. The present is waiting for you. How do you treat yourself in moments of failure? It's a question that can reveal a lot about our inner dialogue. For many of us, the instinct is to be our own harshest critic, to magnify our mistakes, dwell on our shortcomings, and let self-doubt take the wheel. But the Stoics, known for their emphasis on self-discipline, also understood the importance of self-compassion. They believed that true growth doesn't come from berating ourselves, but from balancing accountability with kindness. Seneca, one of Stoicism's wisest voices, put it this way: "Be harsh with yourself at times, but only as a teacher, not as a tyrant." These words remind us that self-improvement is a journey, not a punishment, and that we can hold ourselves to high standards without sacrificing self-respect. At its core, Stoic self-compassion is about treating yourself as you would a close friend. Imagine a friend coming to you after a setback. Perhaps they failed a project or made a poor decision. Would you respond with harsh criticism, or would you offer understanding and encouragement? The Stoics believed that this same kindness should extend inward. Self-compassion isn't about excusing mistakes, it's about acknowledging them with grace and using them as opportunities to learn and grow. It's the difference between saying, "I failed, so I'm a failure," and "I failed and I'll do better next time." Let's bring this into a modern context. Picture this: you're at work and you've just made a significant error. Maybe you sent an email with a critical mistake, or you overlooked an important detail in a project. The initial reaction might be panic, followed by a flood of self-criticism. But a Stoic approach would be to pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that mistakes are part of being human. Instead of spiraling into shame, you'd focus on what you can do to fix the situation and what you can learn from it. This shift in mindset doesn't just reduce stress, it empowers you to respond effectively and move forward with confidence. Here's a reflective prompt to carry with you. Think about a recent mistake or failure. How did you speak to yourself in that moment? Were you harsh and judgmental, or kind and understanding? Now imagine how you might approach that same situation with self-compassion. What would you say to yourself? How would that change how you feel and act? Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about creating a safe space to grow. It's the understanding that you're human, that you're imperfect, and that imperfection is where growth begins. When you treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend, you build resilience, confidence, and a deeper sense of self-worth. This Stoic principle invites us to see self-compassion not as a weakness but as a strength. It's a way to navigate life's challenges with grace, to learn from our mistakes without being defined by them, and to cultivate a mindset that empowers us to keep moving forward. So, the next time you face a setback, ask yourself, how can I show myself the same compassion I'd show someone I care about? The answer might just change how you see yourself and your capacity to rise above any challenge. We are stronger together than alone. This timeless truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. While the Stoics are often celebrated for their emphasis on self-reliance and inner strength, they also deeply valued community and connection. They understood that human beings are inherently social creatures, and that a fulfilling life is built not just on personal virtue, but on meaningful relationships and shared purpose. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, once wrote, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." These words remind us that our well-being is intertwined with the well-being of those around us. The Stoics saw community as a source of strength, support, and growth. They believed that relationships, whether with family, friends, or even strangers, offer opportunities to practice virtues like kindness, empathy, and generosity. But it's not just about what we give, it's also about what we receive. In times of struggle, a supportive community can provide comfort and perspective. In moments of joy, it amplifies our happiness and reminds us that we're not alone. Think about it. When was the last time a kind word or a helping hand made a difference in your day? These small acts of connection are the threads that weave the fabric of a meaningful life. In today's world, where loneliness and isolation are on the rise, the Stoic emphasis on community feels more relevant than ever. Studies show that strong social connections are linked to better mental and physical health, greater resilience, and even longer lives. Yet, many of us struggle to build and maintain these connections, often prioritizing work, screens, or individual pursuits over the relationships that truly nourish us. The Stoics would argue that this is a missed opportunity, not just for personal growth, but for collective strength. So, how can we apply this wisdom in our own lives? Start by reflecting on your relationships. Are there people in your life you've lost touch with? Are there ways you can deepen your connections, even in small ways? A simple text, a shared meal, or even a moment of genuine listening can make a world of difference. The Stoics remind us that community isn't just about being physically present with others. It's about being emotionally present, showing up with openness and care. Here's a challenge for you this week: reach out to someone in your community. It could be a friend, a family member, a neighbor, or even a colleague. Ask how they're doing, share a moment of connection, or offer your support. Notice how it feels to step outside your own concerns and connect with someone else's world. You might find that in giving, you receive far more than you expected. This Stoic principle invites us to see community not as a luxury, but as a necessity, a source of strength, growth, and shared purpose. When we come together, we don't just survive life's challenges, we thrive through them. So, take a moment to reflect: who in your life could use a little more connection today? The answer might just remind you of the power of togetherness. What are you holding onto that no longer serves you? It's a question that might make you pause, but it's one that lies at the heart of one of the most liberating Stoic practices, the art of letting go. For the Stoics, this wasn't just about physical possessions. It was about releasing the emotional and mental attachments that weigh us down, cloud our judgment, and keep us stuck in patterns that don't align with our growth or well-being. Letting go, as they saw it, wasn't a loss, it was a path to freedom. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most profound teachers, put it this way: freedom is not achieved by satisfying desire, but by eliminating it. This might sound counterintuitive at first. After all, desire drives us, it pushes us to achieve, to grow, to strive for more. But Epictetus wasn't talking about ambition or healthy goals. He was pointing to the attachments that trap us, the grudges we can't release, the habits that no longer serve us, or even the relationships that drain our energy. When we hold onto these things, we give them power over us. Letting go, then, becomes an act of reclaiming that power. Let's bring this into the modern world. Imagine you're in a toxic relationship, whether it's romantic, professional, or even a friendship. You know it's unhealthy, but you stay because you're afraid of the unknown, or because you've invested so much time and energy into it. Letting go in this situation doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're choosing to prioritize your well-being over the comfort of familiarity. It's about recognizing that some things, no matter how much we've invested in them, are better left behind. The same principle applies to habits. Think about a behavior you've been trying to change. Maybe it's procrastination, overthinking, or even a reliance on external validation. Each time you indulge in that habit, you reinforce it, making it harder to break free. Letting go in this context means creating distance, not just from the habit itself, but from the mindset that keeps you tied to it. It's about stepping back, reassessing, and choosing a new path, even when it feels uncomfortable. Here's a reflective prompt for you. What's one thing in your life right now that you need to let go of? It could be a grudge, a habit, a relationship, or even a belief that's holding you back. Take a moment to consider, what would it feel like to release it? How would your life change if you did? Letting go isn't about losing something, it's about making space for something better. The Stoics remind us that true freedom isn't found in clinging to what we have, but in releasing what no longer serves us. And when we do, we open ourselves to new possibilities, new growth, and a deeper sense of peace. So, what's one thing you're ready to let go of today? The answer might just change everything. Life is unpredictable and uncertainty is inevitable. But as we've explored throughout this video, the Stoics offer us a powerful framework for not just enduring uncertainty, but thriving within it. The 36 Stoic moves we've discussed aren't just philosophical ideas, they're practical tools designed to help you navigate the complexities of modern life with clarity, resilience, and purpose. From understanding the dichotomy of control to embracing the impermanence of life, each principle is a step toward mastering the art of living well, even when the path ahead feels unclear. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that uncertainty isn't something to fear, it's an opportunity to grow. When we shift our perspective, we begin to see challenges not as obstacles but as teachers. Amor Fati reminds us to love our fate even when it's difficult. The discipline of perception helps us reframe setbacks as stepping stones, and practices like Memento Mori and Premeditatio Malorum ground us in the present while preparing us for the future. These aren't just ancient ideas, they're timeless strategies for building a life of meaning and strength. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. These words capture the essence of Stoic wisdom. It's not about controlling the world around us, it's about mastering our inner world. When we focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes, we reclaim our power. We stop being victims of circumstance and become architects of our own lives. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a challenge. Take one of these Stoic moves and apply it to your life this week. Whether it's practicing gratitude, embracing simplicity, or letting go of what no longer serves you, start small. Notice how it shifts your perspective, how it changes the way you approach challenges, and how it helps you find peace in the midst of uncertainty. If you found value in these ideas, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. How do you plan to use Stoic principles to navigate uncertainty in your own life? And if you're eager to dive deeper, consider subscribing for more insights and practical tools to help you live a life of resilience, purpose, and victory. Remember, uncertainty isn't the enemy, it's the canvas on which we paint our greatest triumphs. So embrace it, learn from it, and let it propel you forward. As the Stoics remind us, the obstacles in our path are not barriers, they are the way. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I can't wait to see